minds that hate. All I can tell you is, brother, you have to wait. Alright, alright, alright. With anyone anyhow. Alright, alright, alright.
Oh man, okay. Wow, what a song. Revolution. I'm a massive fan of John Lennon. I love this tune. I won't get into any of the political stuff. Have that discussion wherever you want, but I'm going to focus on the music. I love the music. I love what John does with the music here. So I think a really interesting, cool tidbit with this tune is it came out as a single, right? Because there's the versions on the White Album. There's Revolution 9 and Revolution 1. Well, they sped it up to do it a single, and it's the B-side of Hey Jude. Like, what a record to buy. Like, I wish I had been there and go down and, pay your 50 cents or whatever at the record store and get Hey Jude and Revolution. Incredible. Along with that single, they also did the videos. So there's a cool video of Hey Jude, right? And there's a cool video of Revolution. And I think it's important to point out that they're not playing live in the video. It seems like it because what they're doing, I'm pretty sure, is they had their backing track from the studio session, and all the instrumental stuff you hear is the backing track. But the vocals, I believe they are doing live. So that's why you get the shooby-doo-wops, and you can get the different things that John, grunts into his mic and whatnot. The vocals are live, but everything else, like the drumming, like that's not live. So just what a cool time. What a cool thing to have been alive when that single came out with those two films being released, those music videos, and that record, Hey Jude and Revolution. Wow. I saw Paul McCartney when he went on tour in 2010. It was just one of the greatest musical experiences I've ever been a part of. It was like life-changing. It was just amazing. And there was a moment where Paul got out his guitar and was about to play, I think it was the tune Here Today. And right before he played that, he had a moment where, he kind of said, I wrote this for a dear friend who passed away. I wish I had said this before he did. It was my friend John. And then he said, let's hear it for John. And it was such a cool thing to be there with all the people that got to just go, yeah, like for John. This is a personal, tribute to John Lennon. I'm just such a massive fan of John and his artistry, his songwriting, what he did. And I just love the guy. Love his music. This song, I think, is so cool because it's so raw. It's like this grungy, hard rock, but it still is really melodic. Like, I feel like a lot of the harder, grungier rock today, and there's a lot I can look back at and listen to that have come out in the decades since this happened. A lot of it is not as interesting musically, meaning there'll oftentimes be like one chord, and it's just constant power chord. Bam, 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 bam. Or the same thing with the bass. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's just like this right to your skull, ba 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 ba, and there's really nothing that interesting about that to me. The bass line on this one is moving around, it's arpeggiating, and it's creating, a melodic structure. Even the drums have some melodic idea going on between the foot and the hands, which I'll get into. But the whole thing has such great melody. The lead guitar part, that's kind of like the rhythm guitar, that's just chunking along, has such cool melodic line to it. It's just so interesting musically to me, even though it's got that grungy hard stuff. And I wanted to read something quick. This is straight out of the Wikipedia article about how they get the sound. I just thought this was so great. The distorted sound was achieved by direct injection of the guitar signal into the mixing console. So the sound guy here was Jeff Emmerich, and he's the one that has a couple quotes here. He later explained that he routed the signal through 2 microphone preamps in series while keeping the amount of overload just below the point of overheating the console. This was such a severe abuse of the studio equipment that Emmerich thought, quote, "If I was the studio manager and saw this going on, I'd fire myself," which I think's awesome. And then there's another bit here that Lennon overdubbed the opening scream, double tracked some of the words, and quote here from Ian MacDonald, "so roughly that its careless spontaneity becomes a point in itself." I love that quote. That's so true. I feel like early rock and roll, early jazz, when the musicians are just kind of feeling it out, there was so much rawness to it. They're really doing something that hadn't been done before, whether it's with the studio and the sounds they're getting or how they're combining them, the textures they're creating. And now we want to copy that maybe. They set up a template, we copy that in our songs. But for them, it was raw. There was no template that they were following. It's so raw. It's a point in and of itself how raw, how the double tracking was so kind of sloppy. Like that grunginess was just so raw. It was so fresh and new, a crazy new idea. And I love how you can hear that coming through on the track. I love that about this tune, and I just think it's awesome how you can see how much later music that influenced. That's amazing to me. Love it. Talk about the drums a little bit. Yeah, I touched on this melodic thing. So this is pretty hard to do, in my opinion. This pattern that Ringo's doing. So you're playing a rhythmic line that's continuous swinging eighth notes. Ba 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 ba. It'd be one thing to do that like maybe on a keyboard where I was, alternating between 2 fingers, ba 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 ba, or whatever, between 2 hands. But alternating between a foot and a hand, like that's a whole different thing. As much as I think it's correct to approach this instrument that I'm playing, the drum set, as one complete instrument, it really isn't. That's really a philosophical choice that I make and a lot of drummers make. But this is really separate instruments that I'm playing with separate limbs, and that is hard to do. It's hard to do with good consistency, with good groove and good consistency of sound, to split it between my right foot and my left hand, or both my hands. That's just hard to do for me. Maybe for some drummers, no, but I find that really difficult to keep that really smooth and flowing the whole tune. So Ringo's got such a great feel for it. When I was a younger drummer listening to this, wondering what he was doing, I don't think I considered the possibility that there was a lot of bass drum. I was thinking it was more like, this floor tone going on here. Bop, buck, bop, bop, buck. Because it just seems like too much or so much. When you look at the video that the Beatles did to film this, you can't tell Ringo's even playing the bass drum. Like, go watch it. It's his usual, just kind of nonchalant, just having fun. He's singing the shooby-doo-wop with the guys, and just looks like he's hardly doing anything. This is hard, and you can't see at all most of the work he's doing because it's hidden behind his bass drum. He's doing it with his right foot. So that's just an amazing thing. I want to call that out for all of you that don't know or haven't tried this. In my opinion, that is hard to do. That's difficult. There's like a lack of crashes. There are a lot of crashes in this, but if my band came to me with this idea and said, "Hey, we wrote this tune," and they played it, I would instinctively crash way more than Ringo does. Like, for instance, going into the solo, there's this great buildup. It's a bit of a climactic moment, right? There's no crash. Ba 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 ba. It just goes into the groove while the keys and the guitar are doing all this crazy stuff. Man, why didn't he lay out a crash there? In the video, you can see Ringo only ever crashes with his right hand on the right side. So I don't even bring a cymbal here. He sets up both of his cymbals, but you he never once touches it. It's like it's just there for visual effect. So there could be way more crashes. Or my goodness, the hi-hat. You can see in the video, Ringo's got some. I can't hear that at all on the record, though. Maybe that's because the sounds on the record are so distorted and so wacky that you just can't hear it clearly. But I don't hear this at all on the record. I just added it in because you can see it on the video. Besides those closed notes, though, there's no hi-hat. Like, in today's world, yeah, if my band came to me with this tune and they wanted something this distorted and grungy and raw, probably my first instinct would be tons of open hi-hat. Or maybe I'd get off and play the backbeat like this still. But I feel like I just do instinctively lots of cymbal. It's cool that he doesn't. It's cool that this is really all about the beefy bass drum and the snare drum backbeat, which he supports with the floor tom. I think he starts out doing just snare, and then as the tune progresses, he starts to add that in certain places. He doesn't do the floor tom with the backbeat on the first two verses, I don't think. He has it in toward the end when it's kind of like, let's ramp this up. That beefiness of the, the kick, the tom, the snare sound, that's the foundation for the whole tune. When I separated out the bass and listened to it, I was surprised that the bass wasn't chunking along doing that same thing. Dum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. It's doing something much more melodic and less rhythmic. This constant ba, 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 ba is just Ringo. And without that, yeah, the rest of it doesn't have that foundation. So it's a really cool functional musical thing to do. And it's also just a cool choice to have it be that timbre and not the high cymbals sound, but the the low tom and kick timbre. Love that. That's so cool. This is just such a cool tune. It's so fun. Maybe shout out to Nicky Hopkins, who played the keyboard solo on this one. British keyboard studio musician who played on like a who's who of other bands' work. The Beatles were one of them. Great solo. Just such cool music. I love this music. Love it. So yeah, shout out to John Lennon, musical kindred spirit, and Ringo Starr is the man. Catch you on the next one. Thanks.